Some might suggest that this was one of the biggest royal PR coups in many a year. Well, yes, we're perhaps stretching it a little bit, but of course this particular image, that's right, the beautiful image of Princess Charlotte, Prince George, and of course His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, alongside the mega pop star at one of her London concerts, Taylor Swift, really did break the internet, and rightly so. She's the hottest pop star in the world right now, and if you think about it, Princess Charlotte really couldn't believe her look, could she? She looked, in fact, so happy. But like all young girls who are lucky enough to meet or indeed see Taylor Swift in concert, there's a bigger story behind this picture. And as ever, let me explain. Lovely to see you today. Thank you so much as ever for your time. I'll have a quick wave. You're right, there's midgets around now, yeah. Oh gosh. Hair's alive. You know what it's like. I know, where do they come from, And have you noticed you sit down and there's a fly always just comes on your hand, just as you're nodding off and wakes you up, doesn't it? Then you wonder where the other flies have gone. You see? I knew it. Yes, well, this happens, doesn't it? You're not allowed to nod off in public anymore, are you? Well, you're dead. You've got to watch your bag and everything here, as you can imagine. Now, as I said, this particular picture really did do a lot for, well, just not necessarily popular culture, but really showed exactly where Taylor Swift's allies lie, She decided, of course, that a while back, she didn't want to go on the podcast Archetypes for Meghan Markle, even though Meghan had penned this mega letter, no doubt in her calligraphy, and even though it was part of the Spotify mega deal. Now, this is what happens, of course, when you are a major star like Taylor. You do pick and choose and decide whether it's good for your personal image or not. Either way, you have to look at it from that point of view. But what's interesting about it is that a lot of people were stunned because at the time one would have suspected that Taylor Swift may have indeed wanted to procure the friendship or indeed the association of Meghan Markle, but seemingly not. And then what emerged was the fact, as I say, that Meghan had personally written to her to ask her to come on the podcast, and this would have broken a lot of the problems for Meghan, simply because Taylor has so many fans around the world. People would have tuned in to see what she was talking about. Made perfect sense. Go for the biggest star on the planet. Now, what I've been told is simply this, that while Taylor Swift did in fact receive that letter, and allegedly the assistant just rebuffed it and didn't even respond, apparently the real reason why Taylor turned it down was simply this, and as ever we have to say allegedly. Apparently he just sort of said, I'm doing a podcast, I'd like you to come on it. There was no background, duration, the topic that you're going to be talking about, the aim of the podcast, anything like that. Basically, no production. Now, when I put anything together with an interview with someone, I have to, ask them, this is the point of what we're going to do the interview for. We can plug this, we can talk about that. And you get the parameters set up, so that they know what they're doing and you know what you're doing. Apparently, this was the reason why Taylor said, well, doesn't look very organised. So in fact, it wasn't a mega snub as such. It was the complete lack of production. Now, as we've heard and seen, consequently since, Meghan didn't like to do any effort in the production of the podcast. And apparently, according to a lot of sources, I didn't actually turn up to record all of them. Production assistants, in fact, asked the questions, and then Meghan's sort of intros were dubbed in later. As ever, that's what's been reported. So you can understand exactly now why Meghan possibly felt perhaps she was, snubbed by the fact that Taylor decided to go along with the Prince William camp. But maybe if she'd have put some little bit more effort in, that podcast could have come to fruition. And more importantly, if you think about it, she could have actually salvaged her own Archetypes podcast. And as that source, an excellent source in the Taylor Swift camp, told me, she has no malice towards Meghan. She just was baffled as to exactly what the letter and the idea and the project was all about. Interesting, as ever, don't you think? Neil Shaw, Whitehall, London.